Hey everybody, my name is Kash Dhanda. I'm the cat herder around these parts, and I'm joined by Mr. Tommy Dex himself.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you, buddy. Well, for the people who don't know, you joined the team a few months ago, and goddamn, have you made an impact in those 3 months? What have you been working on?
Jupiter Global. Yes, just to fall right in. Has been very, very, very exciting. Just over the course of a couple of months, I think we have created a product that is not only on par within the industry, but very, very competitive. And again, like we presented at the event, is just the beginning.
It's crazy. I mean, in 3 months, well, so for the people who didn't watch the talk yet, or maybe they missed it, give them like the kind of 3 key bullet points of Jupiter Global. Like, what does it enable?
Right. I'll bring it back a little bit to what was my first challenge when I joined crypto, and why I was very skeptical about it when I joined in my first job. I really liked kind of the promise that it brought for future finance, but usability was just a major issue for me. I was always telling people, friends that were already in crypto, of like, oh, it's fun that you have so much money like on chain, but like, how are you actually going to use it? Like, how are you going to buy a car? How are you going to purchase your grocery, right? And that's why I'm so excited about Jupiter Global, because we allow people to actually spend their on-chain value in everyday life, right? Through a card, through local QR pay, bank transfers, which we're going to enable very, very soon. So those are kind of like the core pillars of the product that we have built so far. And yeah.
That's wild. And you've been using it yourself for the last few weeks in internal testing, right?
Every day.
And it works everywhere and every place?
All the time.
Oof, too good, too good. Let's talk a little bit about how difficult it is to build what is obviously a highly regulated, needs to be a highly compliant product. You had told me about some of the kind of testing that our partners do off camera that I thought was very funny. Just to give people a sense of like how strictly the partners are going to take compliance here. Can you describe like, you know, how much we have to be on our toes?
Right. So a lot of our partners are very willing to work with us and to build a product
Shout
with
out
us.
to the partners. Yeah.
For sure. But there's definitely a set of rules that we have to comply with, right? And that's not just a checkbox exercise, it's also to keep everyone safe and to make sure that we actually serve the right customers. And that's at the end of the day what we want to do. And it does come with a level of scrutiny, including the fact that a lot of them will actually sign up for the product, kind of like see how we do things, how we promote the product, how they can interact with it. But that's fine, because like the key message that we always give them is, look, we're here to play ball, actually. And I said it during the presentation, KYC is a feature, not a bug. And I think if we work with partners and with the regulators, we can make it frictionless, make sure that it doesn't have a negative experience for the good users, while at the same time making sure that, you know, we play by the rules.
Yeah. I do love playing by the rules, but I thought it was so funny that they will submit like bad KYC on purpose,
right?
Just to see if you approve it, and then when you don't approve it, they'll ask like tricky support questions that they know that you should not give them the answers to, just to see if the support agent will give it to it. Like they take the compliance end very, very seriously.
They take it very serious, yeah. And if you think about it, like at the end of the day, you want to protect your customers, right? So we also want to make sure that everything is airtight. So I don't mind that type of like testing by our partners. Obviously, we're prepared, and you know, if they find something, I challenge them, but probably not.
So, you know, I think we both agree Jupiter Global is going to be a great gateway drug for a lot of people who are kind of getting on chain for the first time, who aren't interested in speculation, maybe don't understand the kind of credit yield bearing side of it. You know, they're not into meme coins or whatever else it is, but they need to send money around the world. They like to spend money very cheaply. They like to, you know, make sure they can get wherever they need to be in any countries. Have you already been telling your like family members about Jupiter Global, and what's been their reaction? As I assume that they're more normies,
right? Yeah. Natives, so the first person I told was actually my dad.
Oh yeah,
because he has been, again, very skeptical about crypto ever since I joined the first crypto company.
Shout out to your dad.
Thanks, Dad. It also progressively went worse. So I joined my first job, I think it was at Binance for crypto. And, you know, I was like, can you get a real job? And then joined the OKX, and he was like, I think he's lost career-wise. And then
it seems even less real somehow.
And then Jupiter was like, okay, you know what? Just call me with Christmas and that's it. But with Jupiter Global, actually, I try to explain it as much as I can to him, and he gets it. And I think that's the power of Jupiter Global, because it represents something that for normie people is understandable, right? They're like, it kind of behaves like a bank, like a neobank kind of setup, right? Like payment cards and everything, even though everything in the back end is on chain. But for them, the direct interaction is something they're used to and it's understandable. And I think when I first spoke with my family about crypto, it's just so foreign to them.
Yeah.
Right. And they don't understand it. They lose interest and they're like, it's probably a scam. It's like, I don't get how this works. Right. And Jupiter Global puts it in a spot where they're like, now I get it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a good place to be, I think, for Global.
There's like these two ends of the spectrum, right? Like this kind of like barbell of crypto, which on the one side is like the heavy speculation, which is, even outside of just like the meme coin degeneracy or whatever. I do think like speculating on, companies and products, that's how the stock market works. That's how capital flows to companies that have real opportunities. And like it has a real useful function in societies to be able to direct capital flows. So you have like speculation on the one side, and then you have stablecoins on the other, right? And I think that Jupiter is one of the very few that can kind of cover both pieces of ground right now. But it should be said, listen, we're just going to talk as buddies here. Jupiter, we didn't even have a legal department until like 4 years into the company's creation.
Right.
It's not exactly as if compliance is in our blood.
No, I found it out the hard way. But enjoying that.
Can you talk a little bit about what it's been like trying to build this kind of regulated business inside of what is overall a very adventurous business, let's say?
Right. Maybe fast forward to where we are right now. People within the company are very understandable. But when I just joined, I felt like people thought it was a meme. This is, even when we got beyond the meme stage, it was like, this is just like a checkbox exercise. We got to do it for the sake of doing it. But I think the team, not just me, but the team also on the legal side has done a very good job explaining internally why it is valuable for us, right? But also for our customers. And I think there was a bit of a light bulb moment for leadership as well at Jupiter. We're like, okay, right, this is something that's important, something that we need to focus on, and we will actually benefit from it. And we're at an early stage, and that's fine. But I think we're all aligned where it should go and how we should be doing things, and we build from there, and that's okay.
So today already, you can sign up to pay in 60 different countries. Those payments then work anywhere across the globe, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
The QR code payment thing is super cool. The fiat kind of transfers on traditional rails is super cool. Obviously, there's a lot more to go. Can you say a little bit more about the roadmap that's coming up?
For sure. So there's a couple of things we noticed when we look at the crypto payment industry, right? So the first thing is that premium experiences are very segmented. So people still need to pay a lot of money for kind of like lifestyle membership benefits that you would get with these type of products. So one thing we're doing is we're making that accessible to everyone, right? So you get the best, most premium payment experience. It's pretty exciting. The other thing we're doing is, like you mentioned, the virtual account and local payouts. Live for selected currencies, but one of the trends we're following for global is that we want everything to be hyper local, right? We want to make sure that if you off-ramp, let's say in Malaysian ringgit, it goes via local Malaysian ringgit banking rail, right? So we're going to do that for about 20 plus currencies over the next couple of months. Another exciting thing is cash off-ramp, which is pretty new.
Which I honestly don't have in any of my existing neobank options.
Right, yeah, no, I also haven't seen it yet. It's going to be capped, right? Again, for regulatory reasons, but it's going to be up to 10,000 USD per cash transaction, which I think for the majority of the world is probably enough.
Yeah. And just to be clear on that, it's like I can just pick up cash in the real world at a location near me, right? Right.
So we are partnering with someone who has a lot of like pickup locations. Basically what happens is you will mention what you want to withdraw, let's say 5,000 USDC. You will get a receipt in the form of a QR code. You go to any pickup location. This can be a 7-Eleven, a My News, a Costco, a Walmart, or billions of locations across the world, depending on the amount and your location. You pick it up.
Oof. I mean, like what just occurs to me now. So I do a lot of travel, like between the offices and all that other kind of stuff for conferences. And one of the things that always kills me is the FX rate at those little money changers at the airport, right? Like you're just eating whatever 7, 8, 9%, whatever it is. With this, if I'm understanding this right, with Jupiter Global, once this feature is enabled, any country I go to, I don't actually need to go to a money changer. I can just be like, hey, $1,000 of stable coins or whatever, $100 of stable coins, and then just go pick it up from a 7-Eleven and then be able to use that local currency anywhere I am in the world?
Yep, correct.
So, okay. Well, we'll come back to that idea in a little bit, I think, in an overrated, underrated game. But wow, okay, so a lot of stuff coming here. There are a bunch of kind of these crypto neobank players that are out there, and many of them are very good. I've used some of them myself.
Sure.
What do you think helps Jupiter Global stand out, even today, let alone kind of like in the long-term roadmap?
Right. I know it sounds a bit like a broken record, but it's, again, the focus on local payment methods, right? Like, everyone can kind of do like the global umbrella approach where you issue a card and you issue a few banking rails in major currencies like USD, British pound, euro, right?
We're all using Ream and Reap basically. Like the people don't know this, but the entire crypto neobank industry is built basically on two companies for this basic level of functionality, right?
Right, exactly. And that works if that's the size of business that you're going for, right? But if you really, really want to get to like the next billion users, to the everyday normie, to onboard them, you need to go super local, right? QR Pay is just such a great example of that, because in APAC, it is the way for people to still pay, especially for people that might not have access to the traditional financial system, right? And like I mentioned in the presentation, like I was in the middle of nowhere in Vietnam, wanted to buy some souvenirs to bring back home. The only way to pay is QR code. And it's not just for Vietnam, that's for a lot of other developing countries in APAC, right? Indonesia, Philippines, Cambodia. So going local is really what sets us apart.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'll tell, I gotta say, I was arguing with Meow about this, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, when we were all kind of like thinking about what we wanted to do there. And he was really excited about QR code payments. And I was in the office, we were together in Malaysia doing a little offsite with Young. I remember arguing and being like, QR code payments, like, who cares? The market's like pretty small. It's mostly about like cards and credit cards and whatever else. And he's like, you goddamn American, whatever.
Yep.
And so, we got into a little fight about it. It was fine, whatever. Later that night, I went to go get a foot massage.
Yep.
And wouldn't you know it, in Malaysia, that foot massage place, no cards allowed, no cash allowed, only QR code payments.
Karma stuff, man.
Dude, I had to call him up and not only be like, hey, you are right, I also need to borrow like 100 ringgit, or like I need you to pay this for me. Yeah. And that's really when my own eyes opened. Is like, I think for people like me who are, I was born and raised in America and I've lived in the West most of my life, you don't realize like how pervasive it actually is and how much of a barrier it is.
And there's a technical reason for it, because if you compare QR payments to, let's say, card, right, the fees are astronomically lower. Right, the settlements are way faster.
And like literally, mechanically, why is that? These are like different payment rails that are being used. These like UPI and those kinds of things.
Yeah. So usually every country has their own QR Pay network, right? And the settlement is very easy. It goes from your balance in the local fiat right into the balance of the merchant or whoever displays the QR code to you. So there isn't that many intermediaries compared to like a Visa credit card, right? And that just makes it faster and way cheaper. And it's also easier for people to set up. So if they might not have access to traditional banking, setting up a QR code with, just an attached debit account is way easier.
So for companies or for any merchants who are accepting whatever Visa payments, MasterCard payments, et cetera, it sounds like the trade-off that they pay is like, yes, they get access to a global payment network, but at a much higher cost with much higher fees, versus these local networks are obviously kind of constrained in where they are.
100%.
So
100%.
If you are able to, it's like an arbitrage of sorts, right? Like if you can kind of localize and you have the ability to do so, then you end up saving both the merchants and the people paying, dramatic fees that really add up over time.
100%.
Interesting. So why is it, knowing that there's like these somewhat substantial gains like this, the fee difference, like sure, it's from 3 or 4% down to close to 0%, but that's like effectively a 99% discount on those kind of fees. Why haven't we seen anyone else kind of go after that approach so far?
Probably a accessibility issue for a lot of the companies. Like if you look at, again, we compared the two, right? So you have a card product and you have a QR product. And for card, you just go with, a couple of big issuers and you basically get coverage near globally, right? So it's very easy to set up. For QR, you need to partner basically with every single PSP in every single country, or
PSP is a payment service provider.
Right? It's heavy for us in terms of due diligence. It's heavy for us in terms of tech. And
it's heavy for us in terms of your sleep schedule.
Mostly, yeah. And so, we're investing a ton of time in doing all these local customizations. We're making a bet, obviously. But that's why I think most companies are just not touching it yet. I think one, they underestimate it, and two, it is just way more comfortable to go with one of the big issuers on like Visa or MasterCard or whatever, and you're kind of like done and dusted, and that's it.
Yeah, so you take the kind of easy, fast route without actually optimizing the end user
But then
experience.
also you kind of lack the differentiation, right? Because that's what everyone's doing.
Do you think this is where the industry is going? Like, will other people go after this hyper-local approach, or is it is there a strategic downside outside of the bandwidth that would prevent them from doing that?
I think it really depends. It really depends if they believe QR code is going to grow globally as well. Let's be honest, it's an APAC LATAM thing right now. North America, Europe, not really a thing yet. Middle East, not too sure, but I don't think it's big there either. So it depends on what strategy those companies are deploying, right? So
And so if this does bring down the cost so much in local markets, like why is that local PSP kind of model not taken off in the West as much? Like, is it, I mean, you tell me, why is that the case? Like, why is it near zero fees in Brazil, but I'm still paying 3% every time I'm in America?
that might be a regulatory problem.
Okay.
So I'm not, to be honest, not familiar with the US for that setup. But look, at the end of the day, the central bank needs to approve such infrastructure, right? And, the US might prefer cards and bank transfers and ACH and stuff like that.
I guess there's like entrenched interests as well that would kind of prevent moving to
yeah,
newer
probably,
technology
yeah.
and so
But
on.
at the end of the day, like a central bank in a country needs to enable this, right?
Yeah.
Like we can't build the QR pay infrastructure in a country on a national level ourselves. That's impossible.
Yeah.
So yeah, if those countries are simply not doing it because either there is other political interests or maybe they just don't see the demand,
Yeah.
there's nothing to plug into. So
That's so interesting. Like, it reminds me, people used to say this all about China back in the 2010s,
Yeah.
where they kind of leapfrogged over desktop computing and went straight to mobile computing. And so, like,
Yeah.
in a sense, because they were behind the times, it allowed them to adapt to the new reality even faster than in the West, where people were kind of attached to their laptops or whatever. And what I'm hearing you say is that kind of like for a lot of these emerging economies, they've been able to skip over the kind of slow, expensive, cumbersome method
For
right to
sure.
the, like, what is a much better end state. Huh?
Right. Yeah. So one of the things they don't have to struggle with is like massive financial infrastructure migration, right? Because like
right.
the rails weren't there like they were in Europe or they were in US. So yeah, like you say, they can kind of like skip level into, okay, this is how Europe and US are doing it. We have an opportunity from ground zero to actually set it up in a slightly different way.
It's so interesting how like a country's perceived disadvantage can actually be like their advantage going forward, because they
Of
can
course, yeah.
skip over these costs. They kind of see the value of it and can move faster on it. So APAC and LATAM, big on the kind of local payment rails and so
Yes.
on. Do we have plans to kind of move into Africa as well? I know that Jupiter's got a giant community in Nigeria, for example. Shout out to Duke and Sammy and the rest of the folks building it up there. What does the kind of global coverage plan look like?
We will try to give global access as much as possible, right? Obviously, with the exclusion of some of the restricted jurisdictions and countries. But as much as possible, we will try to give this product to everyone we can and try to localize where it's relevant. Right?
Does this kind of product work in India specifically? They have UPI as a
right. As of
now.
now, not yet. We're working with the partners and issuers to make it work. Hopefully by March.
Okay. So it's not like India has like a restrictive regulatory policy around crypto
Right.
typically, and so it sounds like that's not actually going to be the blocker. It can happen on a relatively short time frame.
Right. It just like more countries have regulatory restrictions, and so it depends what is the relationship with the partners that we have directly in that country, or maybe there's like trilateral agreements with other partners that kind of obscure us in the back end, but still allow us to roll out a product like that. But that takes a little bit more effort and finesse. Rather than going in a country that's like, we can just go in here and launch a product.
Yeah.
That's why it takes a little bit longer. But it's not just India; it's also Indonesia. Right,
which would be a great
massive
market for us.
market,
Yeah,
massive
great
market, massive population, a lot of underbanked people right there. And again, QR code huge in Indonesia. We're not live yet, but top priority.
Yeah, we will be very soon then, I suppose. And are those the same rails that are used for the local currency payouts as well?
No, different rails.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So for local payouts in terms of bank transfers, there's collaboration directly with banks. To facilitate the payout process.
Actually, now I'm purely doing this for my own benefit now, which is like, can you give like some kind of a high level view or framework of how to think about the different types of rails and which ones we're utilizing versus not utilizing?
Types of rails for payouts.
For payments, payouts, like everything around Jupiter Global.
Right. So I think it's mostly the three we discussed. So we have the card rails, right? We have banking rails. So banking rails, anything for transfer in, transfer out, and then we have the QR pay rails. Those are the top three that we're
Gotcha.
that we're going
And the
for.
card rails are managed by Visa, MasterCard, and the payment networks, or
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, correct.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so we're check the box on the first one, right? We have
Check.
that partnership that we're able to go anywhere on those. The banking rails, some countries with many more coming soon, and then on the local side again, some countries with many more coming soon.
Yep.
If you were a betting man, where do you think most of the volume is going to come from of those three rails?
Ooh, country-wise,
Yeah.
or you mean
like of those three rails? Like, do you think we'll see the most volume on the traditional card rails, on the bank rails, or on the local payment rails?
right?
Because it's different types of users
Yeah,
and
no.
usage, right? Like, is it for payments? Is it on ramp, off ramp? Is
Yeah.
it like local payments? And
Interesting
so on?
question.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a shift, but I think for now, it will be local banking rails. Because if you look at how people spend money, mostly you have, like, you spend money on your card, but then you have payments that you need to make that are significantly bigger, right? To pay your rent, to pay your mortgage, to maybe send money to family, and so I think banking rails will have the highest volume in the beginning. I think QR Pay and card are gonna like kind of fight it out eventually, and one of those will take over as kind of like the highest volume daily payment source.
Okay. Yeah. And if we were to fast forward like 6 months from now, do you have a sense of which geographies would be the most heavily used or contribute the most volume?
I think APAC.
APAC.
I think APAC. And it's just because everything we launch with global, and again, so local for APAC, is so new to the market that anyone in APAC that has on-chain value is going to look at global and think, damn, like this is something that I can really, really use in everyday life. And I think that's why we will see a stronger uptick for APAC. Yeah.
I think it is, in some ways, Jupiter, so as you know, Jupiter is kind of based between Singapore and Malaysia, and as most people know. In some ways, that's been like a hindrance to Jupiter in the past, because so much of Solana in particular is based in the West, like San Francisco, New York, to some degree, London as well, and Switzerland. And so it's always kind of been out in the cold in a sense, right? Just like geographically further away. And it's, again, that same kind of story of like what is a perceived kind of disadvantage actually turns out to be like the greatest advantage, because all those Western companies are not thinking about APAC first in the way that we are.
Yeah. And it's maybe different audiences too, right? Like for global, we're going to have the luxury to have two core audiences. It's your crypto folks, right? But also the normies. Yeah. And that allows us to kind of like roll out pretty aggressively in places like APAC. Even though they might not be, big on Solana or big on crypto, they will have value from global.
Wow, the dream of all dreams is that when these kind of more normal people come on, they don't even know the word Solana, right? They just know Jupiter as a brand they come into. Right. Not because I have anything against Solana, but just I think that the more we're talking about like this back end, effectively like public
customers
database,
don't care about it.
They don't care if you're on a MongoDB or Postgres or whatever else might be. Like they just want to know that the shit works. And
that's
I think
like even when we design Jupiter Global, like from an in-app experience standpoint, right? We always want to make sure we keep it as simple as possible. So what is really important here? How do people bring money in? How do people interact with the money? And how do people take money out? That's really it. People don't care whether you show them like 20 different options with like 5 bips difference or like, like
most people don't know what a bip is, honestly. Yeah.
It doesn't matter to them. It's just like, does it work? Can I use it? And am I getting the best rates and the most efficient channels? Right? Yeah. And that's it. And it should be as simple as that.
So you have this great kind of gateway drug effect for normal users on one end of the spectrum, this great kind of retention usage of, I can actually keep my money here, I can earn it, I'll send it around to friends and so on, because I know I can get it out very easily. So it's great on both ends of the spectrum. I will say personally, I think that Jupiter Global, I said this to you already, but I'll say it to you on camera now as well to immortalize it. I think it is among the most exciting things that's happening across all of Jupiter right now. And the fact that you've been able to build this with effectively a 4-person team in 3 months, when there are 50-person teams who this is all they do for years before they're able to ship, is really a testament both to you and to like the kind of Jupiter culture of just ship incredibly fast. Nobody ships like Jupiter.
Absolutely.
All right. A very useful conversation for kind of framing how payments work, how Jupiter Global works, what the unique value add is. I'd love to end with a little game called Overrated, Underrated, where I'm going to just throw some random shit at you and you tell me if it's overrated or if it's underrated.
All right,
you down?
Let's go.
Yeah?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Let's start off first with crypto neobanking as a narrative. Is that overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Underrated still. Yeah, say more. Because it's quite hot right now. People are talking a lot about it. Yeah. Why is it still underrated?
Didn't reach full potential yet, I think, right? So I think we're just scratching the surface of it.
Yeah.
That's why it's still underrated.
How about stablecoins? Overrated, underrated? Not including JupUSD, which we all know is underrated.
Right, but JupUSD, underrated.
Yeah, stablecoins as a category?
Is there something between underrated and overrated?
There is not, unfortunately.
No?
The name of the game is overrated, underrated. That's the only 2 options.
Overrated.
You say more. Why is that? Very, very hot. I mean, arguably the hottest narrative.
Right. No, crypto, I think stablecoins are, incredible, right? Yeah. Like, and it's such a crucial infrastructure to on-chain. But at the same time, it's not the most important thing. I think it allows you to move assets, right, as a proxy to fiat value pretty efficiently and pretty cheap. Very, very important. But in context of how much attention it's getting, probably slightly overrated.
How about Revolut? Overrated, underrated?
Oof, always underrated.
Underrated? Oh, I thought you were going to say overrated there.
No, you got to give credit where credit is due. These guys are kicking ass, and they have been doing it for a very, very long time.
How do you feel about them moving more into the crypto space? And I mean, now in the very near future, especially with Jupiter Global, they become kind of direct competition in a sense, right?
So I'm not sure if Revolut truly wants to be fully on-chain. That's a question I would like to ask them, to be frank, because I think they're so established in the fiat neobank world, and I think they have a great audience there, and I think they still have a lot of room to grow there. They also went in a very different direction where they're now a licensed bank, right? So I don't think we're going to be much in each other's way, to be honest. I don't think how much they're going to be eventually fully on-chain. But they are a great business. And they build a good product.
They do build a good business, a good product. Yeah, I can't deny that, I guess. Goatees, overrated, underrated?
Oh, underrated.
Underrated, yeah?
Of course.
Say more?
I mean...
As he strokes his own little goatee right there.
Look, I mean, yeah, it's underrated. Come on.
Look good. They make you look good. Devilishly charming.
You know? Basically adds 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good because you're 14 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So
15
so
years here. Yeah. So now I'm at least
yeah.
of age. But yeah.
That's good to hear. Getting honked. Underrated, overrated?
Overrated.
It's overrated?
Yeah, it's overrated. There
but...
was certain expectations of that experience, but next question.
Okay. Yeah. Let's say The Office in Singapore. Overrated, underrated?
Overrated.
Overrated.
Yeah, I mean, come on, you've been to the KL office. I mean, this is not a fair fight.
It is, yeah. No. And then how about Malaysian food? Overrated, underrated?
I think we're done with the podcast. I think I cannot answer that question. No, underrated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I think we all know what his real thought was there, ladies and gentlemen, but we won't tell Siong and get him upset. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Tommy Dex, thanks for coming on to the Jupiter On-Chain Media Podcast.
Thank you.
Clearly, you have a future in this game, and if you don't mind, I'll share. Thomas spoke yesterday on stage, crushed it by describing Jupiter Global and everything. Pretty nervous beforehand. But I think
understatement.
Yeah, we had a few had a real back and forth about you getting up on that stage. But I think that you crushed it. You were great here as well. So I'm very much looking forward to you being the face of Jupiter Global. This is your first podcast.
First time.
I could not have guessed it. You were very, very smooth, very good.
Okay,
nice.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Hit like, subscribe, do whatever other kind of KOL influencer bullshit I'm supposed to say here, and we'll see you next time. For Tommy Dex, I'm Kash Dhanda. Peace.